Law number 5 is going to be called trust before truth. Trust before truth. It says in John 4:39 through 41, many of the Samaritans from the town believed in him because of the woman's testimony. He told me everything I did, and because of her words, many more became believers. So let's talk about how trust is earned and how it's not assumed. Trust is earned, it's not assumed. When you're physically lost, who do you prefer to ask for help? A random stranger at a stoplight? The homeless guy on the corner? The gas station clerk?
Someone we trust.
Someone you trust, right? Most of us prefer someone we know or someone that we trust. When someone is spiritually lost, who do they turn to? Someone they trust, right? Think about this. Like we talked about this a couple weeks now. Even unbelievers, when they go through their hardest moments in life, when someone dies in their family or something like that, who do they call? They call their Christian friend.
Yeah.
And they don't call because they just necessarily believe in their religion. They call because there's relationship, there's trust. And now because of that relationship and trust, they're more prone to hear the answers that you might have, right?
Right.
Most seekers don't have a Christian friend that they trust enough to ask. So, most don't even know how to ask. And that is sad. That's sad that in a day like today in America, where so many people claim to be Christians, that an unbeliever in a moment of need don't feel like they can trust the Christian. And politics and agendas and this what do you call it? What do you call where the government's, like where the sides have gotten? We're just polarized. Right? Like, it used to be okay to, like, disagree on certain things, and now it's like, oh, if you disagree, I cancel you, and you're no longer a part of my family. Like, by default, now we live in that tension, so even more than it has been before, our response is to show them what it looks like to love Jesus. Yeah, grab the mic.
It was just one of my 6 is one of my friends from college who got married. They were believers, everything. And when COVID hit, he came out gay.
Wow.
And it was something that he's known his entire life, but he married my friend, even though he was like, I pray to God that he takes away these feelings and these things, and he still married her. And so she is one of my really good friends. She'll be in our wedding, and so when everything came out, she went to our church down in Lewiston, and their response was not good, and it turned her away from the Lord altogether.
Wow.
And last week she sat in our house, and she was like, Taylor, I think I need the Lord. And I've been praying for her, and I've been consistent through the years. I've not wavered. I've shared my faith with her, but also just listened. And so last week, it was really cool to watch the Lostology stuff come to play, because I just was like, hey, we started talking. She asked about John's faith, and so I just kind of shared more, and she's like, okay, would you read the Bible with me again? I don't want to be lost anymore. And so it was just really cool, to watch that come to be.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I've been saying that for weeks, right?
Right.
The Lord, because you're stepping out of the boat and taking this class, he's going to give divine appointments. A lot of times the moments that we walk into where we're like, oh, wow, that was such a crazy thing that happened. It's just simply because we said we were willing, right? And that's why there's that huge prayer emphasis. Every time we pray, or every time we do a Lostology Lab, there's this element of prayer, right? We're praying for these people. We're asking God what to say to these people. And then God sees in heaven, he's like, oh, wow, they're ready for a divine appointment. And then boom, you're like, wow, this just fits together, right? It's a beautiful thing when God does that. And that's why I think Lostology is so powerful, because it's teaching us, and it's teaching us to know how to respond when those people come, but it's showing us how to let God know that we're ready for it, right? Because God's not going to send someone your way if it's going to turn into a stumbling block, right? He's going to send it to the person he knows that he can trust with the assignment. So let's talk about Jesus and the Samaritan woman that we see in John chapter 4. In this situation, we've talked about this in a couple different weeks now in different ways, but we're going to dive deeper into it today. This passage of Scripture is like one of my favorite scriptures when it comes to healthy evangelism because, like, he breaks every cultural and religious rules just to reach one hurting woman. Like, all the things that were defined by the Jews, he's breaking a lot of them in this moment. The first thing he does is he initiates a conversation. He initiates a conversation. He says, "Will you give me a drink?" Number one, he shouldn't have even been talking to a woman alone, period. He definitely shouldn't have been talking to a woman alone at the well because he knew that it was strange that he would, like, they would have known culturally that it was weird that this woman was coming in the midday. Like, no one went to the well at the midday. That's the hottest part of the day. You just don't do that. So if you're doing that, it's because you're trying to avoid people. Jesus wasn't stupid. Like, he knew the full story, and he still initiated conversation. "Will you give me a drink?" Then what does he do? He finds common ground. He finds common ground. He uses the things around him, right? I love that about Jesus. Like, he made perfect parables, but he also taught us to, like, use the world as parables. Like, the disciples asked him a question. He's like, you see this wheat right here? And he uses the wheat. They asked a question, you see this grapevine? Right? He found things that brought common ground. The woman at the well, he's like, water, thirst, and a well. And a lot of times God's going to give you that in these scenarios. Use the things around you to build trust, to build common ground. And then he stirs curiosity. He says, "If you knew who you were talking to." Then he uses spiritual or supernatural insight. And we're going to talk about that, I think, here in a little bit. A word of knowledge about her past. And then he reveals himself. "I who speak to you am he." So why does she trust him? Did I leave these fill in the blanks? Yes, praise God. Why does she trust him? She trusts him because he is approachable. He is approachable. Like, we have to be on a mission that lost people don't feel like there's a wall between us and them. Like, my beliefs do not create a wall. They should be an open door. I should never make people feel like, if I bring that to Logan, he's just going to shove Jesus down my throat. That's not what we should be doing. We should be people that people want to have a healthy conversation with, that they know it's not going to turn into a debate, that they know it's not going to be us just trying to prove our point. Next, he doesn't condemn her. He doesn't condemn her. God did not call us to call out the sin of the lost. He only called us to call out the sin of the saved. Did you know that? Nowhere in the Bible does it tell you to judge lost people. But the Bible does tell you to judge fellow believers. And I can't go there today. But it's a truth that, like, a lot of us have gotten wrong in the American church. We're out there on this warpath to judge sin. But God's the judge of sin. He's called us to be the good shepherd, the one that cares for these people, cares for their heart. So he doesn't condemn her. He knows why she's there, prophetically and in reality. Knows why she's there. The next thing he does, he saw her. He saw her. What do you mean by that, Logan? There is a difference in a conversation when a person can tell that you really see them, that you really value them. This specific area is one of my shortcomings that I really struggle with. I, at least I've been told, can come off in the midst of church gatherings as too busy or unavailable because I usually have a lot of things going on. And when I get in like game time mode where I have a lot of things going on, I kind of get a blank face on and I kind of get in the zone and then people think I'm mad at them. I've heard all kinds of things. What that means for me to work on is, man, people don't think I see them. So I have to intentionally think of ways in church and in moments to make sure that they know that I see them and that I'm pausing. Like I figured out that when I have meetings with people, if I just explain what I'm doing on my phone when I pull my phone out, it makes them still feel seen. Like I was meeting with someone yesterday, and I was like, hey man, I'm just pulling out my phone right now to look up a Bible verse. And he literally thanked me. He's like, hey man, thank you for telling me that. Because it makes him know that I'm not just being distracted, right? So we have to think of ways that like, okay, when I'm talking to this person, what am I doing to make sure that they know that I see them? You know, one of the greatest things I've found that you can do in a conversation is putting your phone away. Or like for me, I'll even take my watch off because my watch can be more of a distraction than my phone sometimes. But I'm kind of reading the social cues too. I'm repeating what they say. Next, he carried the presence of God. I love this. Like, Jesus is God, but he was 100% God and 100% man. And in this moment that he was teaching us what it looked like to approach lost people, he showed us how to operate as a people that carried the presence of God. I mean, he operates in the prophetic in 3 different ways we're going to talk about. But he carried the presence of God. And like when you go into a conversation with people, if you're filled with the Holy Spirit, like they're going to sense it. They're going to feel it because it's different. It's not natural. It's supernatural. So like so many Christians go around and try to talk to lost people and their cup's not even full. Right? They're just like legalistic Christians or religious Christians. And it's like God called us for our cup to be full so that it poured out. And then we go out and we try to pour out and our cup's not full. It's like, oh, I want to go reach lost people, but I haven't been in the Word. I haven't prayed. I haven't talked to the Father. I haven't gotten direction. Well, you're not going to have divine appointments if you haven't prayed and asked for them. Right? Like we talked about a couple weeks ago. Man, before I go into places, I pray. I'm like, yeah, I get it. This is an appointment I'm having with someone to talk about something. But God, like, let this be an encounter for people. God, who do you want to talk to today? How do you want to minister to people today? Like I was praying for my, I was praying for my meal at lunch yesterday with another friend, asked the person if I could pray for them, and they didn't really give me a lot of context, and obviously I could feel that they didn't want me to ask deeper. So they walk away, and I prayed for them, and then at the end I say, God, and if you would have something for us to say to this person, God, would you give us a download? And I eat my sandwich, and what do you know? Poop, something pops in my head. And I got to prophesy to the girl. She's like, whoa. I asked her to pray, and she's like, religious folk. But then I'm like, hey, man, I feel like God said this about you. And she's like, wait, what? And she like leaned in. Why? Because I carry the presence of God. We have to carry the presence of God into these situations. This is why she trusted him. And then look what happens. I wish that we had like a book, like even if it was a fictional book, I don't care. Like I want a movie to watch of like what happened with the Samaritan woman after the well. Because it's like just this short verse, but it's so profound. Like she becomes the bridge that leads the entire city to Jesus. Think about that, what the passage says. It says that she went back to the city, said that this man was the Messiah, that he proclaimed all the things that happened in her life, and that the whole city believed her. She was an outcast. She was known by the city in a negative light. But she was seen, she was not condemned, and she met the presence of God. And it changed her to become a catalyst to her entire city. How do we do that in our own life? How do we become like Jesus at the well? So let's talk about trust building or breaking. trust building or breaking. People open their hearts to presence before preaching. Period. People open their hearts to presence before preaching. Like, I was talking to somebody the other day about this too. Like, so many people get saved at the heart. And I get it. Yes, we have talented preachers. But it's the presence. Like, that's why there are so many new guests. That's why there are so many salvations. Because people meet the tangible presence of God. That then by the time the altar call takes place, they've already met him. They've already been feeling him. Now they're just like, man, give me more of this. So people open their hearts to the presence before the preaching. Jesus could have drawn his own water. Think about that. But he used it as a conversation tool. Like, when you have divine situations come your way, you have to think of these things. Well, I could just do this, but if I allow them into it, but I could use this as a conversation tool. He could have drawn his own water, but he knew that he could use it to share the good news. Oh my gosh, he's getting so big already. He's chunky butt. I love babies. Lord, settle my heart. I don't need another baby. Jesus could have drawn his own water, but he used it as a conversation tool. So think of your tools. Is it humor? Is it shared interest? Is it a kind word? Is it food? Is it presence? Like one that I've said to you before that's one of my favorites is like, I'm on a mission to break people out of NPC mode, right? That is one of my gifts. Not just like, oh, Logan's an evangelist. Like, no. I have like a mission directive. I'm like, okay, when I'm here, I'm going to break them out of NPC mode. How do I break them out of NPC mode? How do I like throw off their moment where they're like, wait, glitch in the matrix? We pass the microphone. And we got to be quick with stories today just because we have 2 classes to go through.
I'll be really fast. I took this like upon myself and I was like, hey God, like help me do that, right? Break people out of NPC mode.
Yep.
And so I felt him tell me I need to stop using self-checkout. And I'm like a sucker for self-checkout because I have 4 kids and I don't want to deal with waiting in line. But I was like, okay, God, it's not going to take me that much longer to just wait in a line. And so there's one girl at Fred Meyer that I'm like, that's my girl. And so I've started like every time, the first time I saw her, it was like she was talking to someone else about hiking. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like how is your hike?
Gathering
Where do you go
intel.
hiking at?
Yep.
You know, and then we just started talking about that. So now every time I go, now she's like, oh my gosh, how are you? I haven't seen you. I normally see you at night. I don't see you here during the day. And I'm like, I normally don't see you here during the day either. And so now I kind of know her schedule and she kind of knows my schedule. And now when she sees me, she's like, it's so good to see you again. And so I'm like, just that little bit of like, okay, now you're I'm going to get to you. Like,
I preached a message about that a couple of years ago called Interruptible and how Jesus was always interruptible, and actually used this idea of like, what if literally the way that you're going to have a divine appointment is not doing self-checkout and standing in line? Think about that. You now stand in line, you have someone behind you, you have someone in front of you, there's 2 conversations, and then you're praying and preparing to talk to the person at the checkout stand and the bag person. There's 4 divine encounters right there that you could possibly have just by not choosing self-checkout. So what are your tools? What are your talents? What has God given you? How do you communicate? Is it stories? Is it humor? Is it shared interests? Is it kind words? Now, I want you to sit and think about this for a minute. Why should a stranger trust you? I want you to think of this for a minute, and I want you to write down one thing. Why should a stranger trust you? Someone want to share?
They need trust.
Microphone.
They need trust, and they feel real lonely and lost.
So why did they trust you?
They can feel me.
They can feel you?
Yeah, I can feel
Because you carry the presence of God?
they could tell.
Okay. Any others?
I'm willing to share my stuff first.
Willing to share your stuff first. That's a good one. I want to read 1 Corinthians 13 to you. Did that get moved?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I want to read 1 Corinthians 13 to you. It's the verse that you've heard at a million weddings, and if you ever come to a wedding that I officiate, I will never say. So I don't like to do things like everyone else does. I want to read this to you, though, because you've heard this at weddings a lot of time. But have you ever thought of this chapter as actually being for your evangelism? If I speak human or angelic tongues, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so that I can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. And if I give away all my possessions, and if I give over my body in order to boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. What is love? Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. It does not boast. It is not arrogant. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not irritable, and does not keep a record of wrongs. Love finds no joy in unrighteousness, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. But as for prophecy, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. For we know in part and we prophesy in part, but when the perfect comes, the partial will come to an end. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put aside childish things. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I will know fully as I am fully known. Now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Have you ever thought of these in the context of you reaching lost people? You go up to verse 4, right? It's explaining your approach to lost people. When I talk to a lost person, I need to be patient. I need to be kind. I can't be boastful, not arrogant. Don't be rude. Don't be self-seeking. Don't be irritable. And do not keep a record of their wrongs. Or in other words, don't call out their wrongs. The mission of the gospel is love. And what I love about this, and I think is so profound, is that 1 Corinthians 13 is actually a setup for chapter 14. I mean, there were no chapters back in the day when he wrote it, but a lot of times when we write chapters, sometimes in our brain, I feel like we separate them. When they're actually not separated, it's a continued statement. 1 Corinthians as a whole is one letter, right? So what I love how Paul does is Paul always gives you like the glue that holds things together, and then a lot of times he'll show you the result. So like 13 is the glue that holds things together, and then 14 is the equal. It is what takes place when you do these things. And we've read 14 a million times and learned about the spiritual gifts and wanted to have all the spiritual gifts. But he's like, if you don't have chapter 13, all of that's in vain. I mean, he takes it even further in the Gospel of Matthew in chapter 4 or chapter 6. The person comes to me and says, haven't I prophesied in your name? I never knew you. I never knew you. So we have to come in love. We have to truly love the unbeliever. Like I've said before, like I want to talk to people and feel the way God feels for their soul. Like God cares so deeply for that lost person. He is grieved that they are where they are. So we have to come in love. If I speak the truth but don't have love, it is just noise. How many people listen to noise? The only time I listen to noise is when I sleep. I don't listen to it to learn. The only time I listen to noise is when I sleep. Are you getting what I'm saying? I listen to a sound machine. Okay. It's actually not super healthy for you, but it helps me sleep. That's actually a really interesting thought, and I should put that in here. Noise is actually not healthy for you. People think they need noise to go to sleep, but it keeps your brain out of REM. It's overstimulating. So if you come to people in your noise, you're actually toxic. You're actually negatively affecting them. You think you're doing the right thing, but you're negatively affecting them because you're just noise. Truth is slow to build and fast to break. A lot of Christians are trying to build trust with one hand while tearing it down with the other. Right? Ulterior motives. Inward thought, like, okay, I'm going to do everything that Logan said, but on the inside, this is my plan. No, it said love is not self-seeking. Love is not ulterior motives. If I want to be a bridge for Jesus, I have to know what breaks trust just as much as what builds it. Trust starts breaking the moment people feel like I am treating them like a project instead of a person. Oh, how good Christians are at this. We're going to do outreach this weekend, guys. Come together. We're going to make some sandwiches and have very basic conversations that don't lead to any change in their life. To the extent that in most major cities now, it's illegal for us to go do that. Why? Because it's actually caused more hurt than good. Think about that. Noise, love. Cities are not allowing us to bring little care packages to the homeless because it's actually hurting the city and hurting the people. They don't need another sandwich. They have 20 different places they can go get a sandwich from. They need something that the world can't give them. The presence of God, coming in love, not as a project, but as a person. Trust starts breaking when we stop listening and start performing. We're not listening to anything we're saying. We're just waiting for our moment to interject the 10 points of the gospel that we figured out is successful with that one person we led to Jesus. We have to listen. Like I love what you said. Like you're in line and you hear them talking about hiking. Right? You're not like waiting for your moment to say whatever you think you need to say. You're like, okay, God, I want to learn. How can I use this as a tool? How can I use this to build relationship? How can I use this to show love, to show shared interest? Trust starts breaking when you say, I'm here to fix you, instead of, I'm here because I care about you. I'm here because I care about you. Or when I move too fast and assume too much, talk too much, and get weird too early. Don't be weird. And the truth is, lost people can feel that stuff fast. They can feel that stuff fast. They've had enough religious folk come and try to talk to them. And they've already got a pre-assumption of what you're going to do. But when you come up and you're like, oh, how was hiking yesterday? They're like, wait, what? I thought you were going to try to shove your Jesus down my throat. It breaks them out. You have a question?
I just wanted to tell about something that happened last weekend. I did an event, and everything in my booth screams how Christian I am. And so this lady comes up, and I overhear her talking about how she also does similar things. And I said, really, where do you do your designs at? And she goes, oh, you wouldn't be interested. And I said, no, don't do that. You don't know. We could serve very different people, and maybe I need your contact information. I don't remember the name of the company that she worked for, but I do remember that she said that she serviced the LGBT community. And I said, great, that's awesome. And she just kind of gave me this look. I said, my job's to love you, not tell you what you're doing wrong.
Come on.
Your sin is no different than my sin between you and God, not between you and me. It's my job to love you. I said, can I hug you? And she said yes. So I gave her one of the big hugs that I give. And I said, not all Christians are assholes.
Come on.
And she took my card.
Come on. I love that. I love that. Beautiful example. Lost people can feel it so fast when we're fake. They know when you are present, and they know when you are pushy. They know when you actually care, and they know when you're trying to force a moment. That is why trust matters so much. Because once trust is broken, people stop hearing your words through the lens of love, and they start hearing them through the lens of suspicion. Oh, what's their real intent? Why are they really talking to me? And when that happens, even truth can sound unsafe. Even truth can sound unsafe. So, as a Lostologist, we have to be careful. We do not want to just carry the right message, we want to carry it the right way. We want our presence, our tone, our timing, and our posture to tell people, you are safe enough for me to listen to. And I hope I can become safe enough for you to hear. So, let's talk about how spiritual gifts open hearts. We've talked about kind of that base, right? That we have to come in these moments in love, and how if we're not love, we're just noise. But God also gave us this beautiful thing called spiritual gifts. 1 Corinthians 12, 8 through 10 says, for to one is given through the Spirit the utterance of wisdom, and to another the utterance of knowledge according to the same Spirit. To another faith by the same Spirit. To another gifts of healing by the one Spirit. To another the works of miracles. To another prophecy, to another the ability of distinguishing between spirits, to another various kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. These aren't wow moments, these are trust bridges. They're trust bridges because these are the things that people can't deny. They can't rationalize a thought of why all of a sudden you knew that information. So I want to talk about 3 specific ways that we operate in the prophetic, especially in moments of reaching lost people. The first one is the word of knowledge. The word of knowledge. What is the word of knowledge? The word of knowledge is knowing something you shouldn't. It's knowing something you shouldn't, right? That's like when you get that really clear download and people are like, there's no way you could have known that. Like when I come to a person and I say like, man, I really feel like I had this in baptism class last weekend. New girl came in, she was late for class, so she kind of fell off because of that. And at the end, I was like, hey man, I really feel like God said that this is the moment that chains are gonna be broken, that weight you've been carrying is gonna fall off. And I went on for a little bit, but it was all these like deep heart things that only she would have known, right? That's a word of knowledge. It's knowing something that you shouldn't. Then there's also what's called a word of wisdom. A word of wisdom, and these are different. A word of wisdom is supernatural insight on how to respond. It's really important to know the difference between these two things because this is where charismatics get in trouble. Not every prophetic word that you get from God is something you're supposed to say to an individual. And sometimes when you say a word to an individual that you got thinking it was a prophetic word for them, it'll actually hurt them. I've seen this happen before. I've seen this happen before in really serious moments. And I've rebuked people and said, bro, that was not for you to say to that individual. That was for you to have understanding and wisdom on how to approach or deal with that individual. Does that make sense? I'm going to give a for instance, okay? Individual gets a word from God about another person, that they're all these terrible things, right? You're the path of destruction, you're a destroyer, all these big words, right? And goes to the individual and says these things. And what does it do? It causes a divide. It caused pain. Now, if that individual that got that word would have used that as like being a shepherd and caring for the person in wisdom, leading them away from the prophetic word that they got, it probably would have supported that person a lot different, right? So the word of knowledge is meant for you to speak. But the word of wisdom is not always meant to be spoken. A lot of times the word of wisdom is something, it's like the intel from God to help you in the moment, right? Now, it's not just for that. Like words of wisdom do come out as something to be spoken to an individual. And that can be like direction in a person's life. You've probably seen that on like a prophetic, like a sound conference or something like that, where they're not just like calling out something that couldn't have been known, but they're calling out like the future of somebody, right? It's a word of wisdom, insight on a path that they're going to go on and how they should respond, right? That's the prophetic words that we get, that there's some sort of response that we have to. Right? Oh, I've had this spoken over me, and now there's an action for me. But not every time you get a word of wisdom is it something you're supposed to say to people. And you have to ask the Lord, was that for me for intel or for them for encouragement? The last one is discerning of spirits. Discerning of spirits. This is understanding what's spiritually happening. The discerning of spirits is so important as we evangelize. This is where God will give us insight about the things that are maybe holding the person down. Maybe you even get that insight of specific spirits that are over them, right? Like I'm not like a super fan of like putting names and labels on spirits because I just don't see a lot of it in the Bible. But I do believe that God will give us a word about a spirit and then a way for us to go and fight against that spirit, right? So someone might say, oh, they have a spirit of Jezebel, where I would say like, oh, they have a spirit of sexual immorality, right? And now that gives me kind of a war plan as I go about this conversation. Like, because at the end of the day, if they're lost, you're not just trying to convince them, you're trying to free them. And a lot of time what ruins our evangelism is a demonic response through a person. Because when the light comes to the darkness trembles. And a lot of times if they have enough control over an individual, they're going to manifest. And can I tell you something? You're not going to be able to share the gospel to a demon. They already know the gospel. They chose not to receive it. So you have to have this discernment of the spirits. Is it fruitful for me to continue trying to win this person for salvation, or do I first need to get rid of some demons? Do I first need to help this person find some freedom? Interesting, I don't see a lot in the gospel accounts Jesus casting demons out of saved people. I see Jesus delivering lost people that then confess him as Messiah. He knew the order. He knew that they had to be free. They had to be free to hear the good news. Now, is there some things in life that don't cookie cutter fit that box? Absolutely. You know, I believe that there's also a big place where we need to understand the difference between like spiritual or demonic oppression or possession and strongholds. Because I think a lot of times we get strongholds confused with demons, and we give too much credit to demons for things that we've built ourselves. Just like when we blame everything on Satan, but you're really not that special and he's only going to be in one place at once. I guarantee you that he's not the person that popped your tire. So that's where that discerning of spirits comes in. Is this a demon that I need to call out? Or is this a stronghold that they've built Is there something I have to help them find breakthrough in? Do you have a question?
Well, it's more of a comment, but like I have a trans child who, when I sit with them and talk, they're very open to what I'm saying. But when I am around a group, their group of friends, I feel there's like, I'm not talking to a person anymore. A couple of his friends that are very strongly kind of the ruler of their group. And so I feel, I don't know how to you can't really get in the way of that. And all I can do is say, I don't think that's not a really good person for you. And they have a lot of trouble with them. And yet they have a very strong hold on them. And I don't know how to, would be you just continue to pray for them?
Yeah, I think that when we're on mission, we have to focus on the individual, right? Because when you say they get together and it's like, wow, I can feel it. It's like, yeah, because an army is there, right? A spiritual army is there. They're feeding off of that environment so much. And the hard part about that movement is that it can be one part demonic, and it can also be one part stronghold, right? There's a part that we play into it, and then there's the thing that feeds off of it. Does that make sense? I should probably make a whole class in this class just about this specific topic of deliverance and things like that in the evangelistic sense, because it's a little different than the way that we go about it in the church, right? I think that there's a place for it in the church, but the way that we necessarily do it with a fellow believer isn't the cookie cutter way that we do it with a lost person, right?
Right. Well, in that group, I'm really out of my league, and like they come at you with, your God says puts me in hell in the womb, and then their voices. I mean, it's just a really.
Do they meet at your house?
No, I go where they're at. I don't let them in my house because I don't want that in my house. Mm-hmm. My child comes to my house, but I feel like my child's being held with, like, they've got a kind of a hold of him, and he says to me, I think I'm just confused, and yet he has these people in his life that are very, very powerfully overwhelming him.
So you remember when we talked a couple weeks ago about how even if we know the thing that we want them to admit, sometimes we have to ask them questions to get them to admit it? I think that in this moment, that's one of those powerful tools for you, is like you need to call out, like, hey, do you see how that is affecting you? Hey, do you think that person really cares for you or cares for the moment? Like, ask the Lord for those questions. Even in your prayer time with the Lord, like, ask the Lord, like, God, would you give me a download of questions to talk to with my son? And watch him. He'll give you things to say to him. But I do agree that you have to focus on the individual. We are pulling people out of the enemy's camp. We're not bombing the whole camp as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I once you get in there, I was like, I'm out.
Yeah. It's the one hard part about.
I feel safe in the room, but my son did leave with me because I said I didn't feel good, and he drove me home. But that is the people.
It's one of the hard parts about not living in the Old Testament. God just doesn't annihilate people anymore. We got to deal with it one by one. He's not going to take out a whole tribe anymore. All right? It's a good thing. See, these gifts, they help people say, there's no way you could have known that unless God was real. Like, the prophetic and your testimony are like your left and your right arm of evangelism. It's like if you can get these two things, like, anybody can say no to your Jesus, but nobody can say no to your lived experience and to the prophetic word. They're like, there's no way that this isn't real. So powerful. Let's talk about how there's more to the question. It says in Matthew 19:16, "Teacher, what good thing must I do to inherit eternal life?" Wow, that sounds pretty chill, but it's actually it's desperation masked as curiosity. It's desperation masked as curiosity. Lost people hide what they feel. When seekers ask about God, they often act casual, sound uninterested, or ask surface-level questions, but inside, they're hurting, searching, and maybe even desperate. And I'm going to kind of just go past that one because we've actually talked about that before in other classes. So I'm not going to repeat on that one like I normally would. Let's talk about Jesus and Nicodemus in John chapter 3, another great example of what it looks like to do healthy evangelism. We see a religious leader. He comes at night and he compels Jesus politely. Jesus skips the fluff and says some pretty wild statements. This is a pretty wild conversation between Jesus and a religious leader. You must be born again. He's like, what do you mean? I have to come out of my mother's womb again? It's a wild thought. Like, this is one of those things that just like twists someone's brain in the old days. He's like, hey, you have to eat of my body and my blood. And everybody leaves except for the 12. He says, you have to be born again. And the religious leader's like, I can't, what are you talking about? I can't do that. Jesus knew the difference between curiosity and spiritual hunger, and he knew how to deal with them. Let's talk about some spiritual signals to watch for. Seekers won't always say, I want Jesus. They'll say things like this: where do you go to church? I've been reading the Bible. That worship song hit me different. What's the deal with God and suffering? My grandma used to pray for me. And obviously there's a million other things I could put in that list. But what I'm simply saying is, like, look for those statements. They're not going to say they need Jesus. They're going to give you little subtle cues. Like for me, a lot of times with people that I have in my life that are lost, they'll tell me that they went and watched one of my messages. And to me, I'm like, oh, you're seeking right now. Like, you're seeking right now. They said, I watched one of your messages, but what they're really saying is, I think I want Jesus. They're really considering it. So we can't miss these. We can't dismiss them. These are spiritual flags, spiritual warning signs. So my final encouragement for you in this law is just a recap of trust before truth. Like, we can't assume people trust you. We have to earn it. We can't assume their questions are shallow. We have to look deeper. We have to be a bridge, not a bullhorn. We have to use the presence of God and spiritual gifts to open hearts, walk slowly, deeply love, speak wisely. You must be the closest to Jesus someone ever gets. That's the mission.